CRJ 225, welcome to your first podcast for criminal law. This course is taught by me, Tom Higgins. I'll give you a little background on myself. I was once you in the sense that I am an ICC graduate. My degree was in police science, which is akin to or the same as our law enforcement degree today. It was called police science back in the day. And so my degree, or first degree, was in police science. My intent was to pursue a law enforcement career. I went on to Bradley University. And while a student at Bradley University, my first job where I had to raise my right hand and then serve someone in that capacity after I turned 21 years old was at Illinois Central College, which with what is now known as the Campus Police Department. Back then it was the Department of Public Safety. I continued on at Bradley, got a degree in administration of criminal justice, continued on that law enforcement path, but somewhere along the lines at Bradley, I had some influences who encouraged me to consider law school. And so with an intent of probably staying in law enforcement but using that law degree, that was what my intent was. And I started law school in Chicago, the John Marshall Law School, which is now part of the University of Illinois, Chicago. You never know what your intent will lead you to. Years later, and most of you will find out, if you haven't found out already, that if you're interested in a certain thing and opportunities arise and you work hard, more opportunities will arise. That's what sort of happened to me. I can't tell you exactly how I ended up in all the places I ended up in my career, but I can tell you why I did. And the why is a class you're participating in right now. I sort of bounced around different majors, and then one semester on a whim, at the suggestion of some friends, signed up for some police science courses, which included introduction to what some of you have taken as Introduction to Criminal Justice, and then this course, Criminal Law. I took it with Roy Doc Wright. Doc was the founder of all of our programs in public services here at Illinois Central College as we know them today. Doc was a police officer who became a lawyer. And Doc became my mentor. And yes, he was one of those people that kind of put that idea in my head to go to law school. So, my start in a career in law enforcement, a career in the law, and all the paths or all the different things I've done on my path in the law during that time, essentially began with this course and just an appreciation for the law and an interest in the law and a passion for the law. So this course is very important to me. I've taught it off and on for over 25 years now. It's one of my favorite courses. It won't be very taxing on you if you put in the work. By that I mean if you read, if you prepare, if you participate, it won't be that big of a deal. And you'll enjoy it because if you're like me, these are things that are important and of interest to you. So you should enjoy it. And you'll take away some things. You'll be able to know why it is that dispatchers in the 911 dispatch center get upset when someone calls and says, "I've been robbed," when in fact they've been burgled. You'll know the difference between robbery and burglary. You'll know why it's important. The police officers know the difference. The dispatchers know the difference. That people are able to get the elements of what occurred out of someone in the public who comes home and finds that their back door's been kicked in or a window opened and their things taken out of the house, but they're not in any immediate danger. That's a burglary. As opposed to when someone is in their house and another individual enters that house with a weapon and takes something from that individual by force. That's a robbery. They were at risk or potentially in harm's way in that circumstance. More emergent situation, right? You'll know the difference between these things. And you should. If this is a career path you intend to pursue, whether that's in law enforcement or probation or corrections or 911 dispatch or paralegal or as a lawyer. I'm sure that within this group of students, there's probably someone in all those different majors, or you just never know. It may be something you do. How this course is set up, I create one of these podcasts for each week. Since we don't meet in class, you're not going to get a lecture. I try to come up with a concise guide that you can listen to at your leisure before you go and start to do the work, that will give you some basics for where we're going and what you need to know. A guide. There'll be reading each week, but it won't be taxing reading. In most weeks, it's going to entail reading an Illinois statute and looking at a case and working to understand how the elements of that particular offense played out by facts in a case. You may have to go and find your own case or example of that type of crime. And then there will always be something that you're asked to do in which you will write in your own words, reporting or answering whatever is expected of you for that week. And then finally, after you provide your answer by the deadline and in the format requested, you'll go and read what other individuals have written, and you'll reply to those posts in a substantive manner according to the rubric that's found on the course syllabus. This won't be difficult for you if you use your calendar, if you make sure you hit those deadlines, and if you plan the time to listen to this podcast, to read the things you have to read for the week, and to do the work. Craft your own post and then read and respond and reply to the post of other students. If you do that, it's going to be smooth sailing towards an A. More importantly, you're going to come away with a really good understanding of criminal law in Illinois. So one of the first things I asked you to do is define a crime. A crime's typically defined as an act or omission in violation of the law prohibiting that action or omission. Now, distinguished from criminal law, or civil law, I should say, criminal law is a system of laws focused on the punishment of an individual who commits an act prohibited by statute or defined as a specific crime. Seeks to punish. In other words, we typically think of a civil case as being two individuals in a dispute over their rights. A personal injury case, you see those lawyers advertising on television all the time. Or a dispute over a contract, a business contract, some sort of sale. Something that seeks or involves the pursuit of money damages. It doesn't seek to punish, it seeks to make somebody whole by money, by damages. As opposed to the criminal law where somebody, in a lot of cases, is damaged. And you may have cases where restitution is part of the punishment, but the main focus is on something to punish. Typically, we think of that punishment in terms of incarceration, being in jail or imprisoned, having your freedom and liberty taken away. That's different than in the civil cases. A criminal case involves the government. The prosecutor, representing the people of the state of Illinois, the government, decides whether to seek punishment of an individual for either an act or an omission that caused another individual, the victim, or the public, some sort of harm that the criminal statute prohibited or sought to prevent by making that act or omission criminal. Now, criminal laws come to us by a criminal code. A criminal code is another word for statute. Each state has its own criminal code, its own body of criminal statutes. Congress has also chosen to punish certain conduct, and there is a federal criminal code. That code can be found at Title 18 of the United States Code. The United States Code is the body of United States statutes. Illinois criminal statutes are linked for your convenience to our course site. And whereas Title 18 of the United States Criminal Code is where you'd find federal criminal statutes, for Illinois, you find our criminal statutes under 720 of the Illinois compiled statutes, Section 5/1 on down the road. So 720 Illinois compiled statutes. It was formerly Chapter 38 in my day, Chapter 38 of the Illinois Revised Statutes. At some point along the way, between me finishing my police science degree at Illinois Central College and me becoming a lawyer, the state moved to the Illinois compiled statutes. Now, I've linked those statutes to Blackboard or to the course site. You need to go to the course site and you need to find those statutes and you need to take a look. And if you go to the first section, 720 ILCS 5/1, it begins with, and I quote, "This act may be cited as the Criminal Code of 2012 and then you need to go and read those first few paragraphs, which provide, among other things, the general purpose of our criminal code, specifically stating the provisions of this code shall. Whenever you see the word shall in a statute, it means must. Shall means must. Now, rarely in the criminal statutes do they say, you can, you may. They don't use those words. It's typically shall. The provisions of this code shall be construed in accordance with the general purposes hereof to, and then under A, you'll find forbid and prevent the commission of offenses. Now, which offenses, you might ask? Well, that's covered in B. Among the other general purposes, this act is to define adequately the act and mental state which constitutes each offense. And it's to limit the condemnation of conduct as criminal when it is without fault. So in other words, the civil things, the negligence type things. We're going to talk about the act and the mental state in much greater detail in coming weeks. Among the other general purposes, under paragraph C, prescribe penalties which are proportionate to the seriousness of offenses, and which permit recognition of differences in rehabilitation possibilities among individual offenders. So in other words, the purpose of this particular part of our statutes is to forbid and prevent the commission of certain things, certain offenses. It's going to define what the act is or what the offense is and the mental state for that offense. And it's going to prescribe penalties, proportionate penalties, meaning penalties that match the seriousness of the offense while recognizing various ways of rehabilitation and differences in offenders. And then finally, among the general purposes, the act is to prevent arbitrary or oppressive treatment of persons accused or convicted of offenses. Prevent arbitrary or oppressive treatment. So I guess that means humane, and we'll find out what it means, right? In your own research, you may have come across, and especially in the definition of crime question, references to the common law. The common law was the court-made law. And prior to statutes, prior to these codes, it was the criminal law. Burglary and robbery were defined by the common law long before statutes. But to be clear, Section 1-3 of this code makes it very clear, regardless of whatever the common law may have held, it isn't a crime in Illinois unless it's part of this criminal code. Unless it's defined in the statute, end of story, it's not a crime. Spend a little time looking around the Illinois Criminal Code. Look at the Criminal Law Handbook and the Illinois Pattern Jury Instructions I've also provided for your use and convenience. We will be spending some more time with these and other resources as we move towards a general discussion of elements of crime and criminal liability next week. But especially as we move past next week and into the real fun stuff, the specific crimes we'll become familiar with this semester. I'm excited about this class. I always am. I hope you're excited about it. This is stuff that you'll use for the rest of your career. Some of you may end up in or have taken my CRJ 230 evidence law or my CRJ 227 administration of justice and learned about things like use of force, fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. This stuff, knowing the crimes, is the foundation for your ability to process and operate in whatever your function is going to be in the law and avoid the pitfalls that we discuss in those classes. It's good stuff. So I hope you're as excited as I am, and I'm happy you're in the class. If you ever need to get a hold of me, if you've been my student before, you know that the best way is to email me. My email is on the syllabus, and we'll make arrangements. I'll get back to you as quick as possible, and we'll make arrangements to get in contact in whatever way works the best, whether that be by phone or Zoom or possible in person. I tend to be here for my students long after you take this course or any other course. And I've been here more than 25 years now, so I have a lot of students. Some of my students in the law enforcement area have since retired, some of my early students, but I have a lot of former students out there working in various careers, from dispatcher to lawyer and prosecutor and judge even. I'm here for you now in this class. I'm here for you in this program. And God willing, I'll be here for you into your career and for a while thereafter. So don't hesitate to reach out to me, whether it's about this class, a specific question about this class, a specific question about your program or your career path or education path, and especially once you get out there in the jobs. Keep in contact. Let me know what you're doing, and always plan to just stay in contact. If you need references, you're going to be promoted. Somebody from the federal government's going to be coming around calling on me to ask about you in a background check. Stay in contact. Week 1, criminal law. Stay well.